Don't you dare touch my dog. Emma's voice cracked through the night. Red and blue lights flashed across the Miller driveway as two animal control officers dragged Buddy toward their van. The golden retriever whined, confused, struggling against the leash. Emma fell to her knees, clutching his collar, but the officers pulled harder. Ma'am, step back. We have an official HOA complaint. Through the chaos, a woman stood at the curb, calm as ice. Karen Whitmore. Her pearl necklace shimmered under the streetlight, her arms folded, a faint smirk on her lips. Rules are rules, Karen said coldly. Dogs like that don't belong here. Buddy barked once, eyes locked on her, a sound filled with something more than fear. It was a promise. 3 weeks earlier, the neighborhood of Cedar Pines looked like a magazine cover, perfect lawns, trimmed hedges, and matching mailboxes. The Millers had lived there for 5 years, raising their son Jake and their 4-year-old golden retriever, Buddy. Go get it, boy. Jake threw the tennis ball down the street. Buddy sprinted, tail wagging, snatching it midair before trotting proudly back. Neighbors smiled. Kids laughed. Buddy was the sunshine of Cedar Pines. Emma Miller leaned on her husband Mark's shoulder, watching. You think we'll ever have a quieter life? She teased. Mark chuckled. Not with that missile running around. Their peace felt untouchable until the moving truck arrived. A black Mercedes followed, sleek and out of place among the modest SUVs. Out stepped Karen Whitmore, mid-40s, expensive haircut, clipboard already in hand. She eyed the street like a queen inspecting her new kingdom. Jake waved cheerfully. Hi, I'm Jake. That's my dog, Buddy. Karen's eyes flicked to Buddy, then back to Jake. No smile. He's large, she said curtly. Do you keep him leash? Only when we need to, Emma said politely. He's friendly, don't worry. Karen's lips tightened. Rules are what keep a neighborhood safe. I hope you follow them. From that moment, the Millers felt the temperature drop. Within days, every mailbox received a glossy letter. Welcome your new HOA president, Karen Whitmore. She's the president already? Mark muttered at breakfast. She moved in 2 days ago. Emma frowned. She must have forced a vote. Nobody even asked us. Jake bent down to pet Buddy, whispering, Don't worry, she'll like you soon. Buddy wagged his tail, but even he seemed uneasy when Karen's car passed. The first incident happened on a Thursday evening. Buddy barked once, just once, at a raccoon rustling near the garbage cans. Minutes later, Karen appeared at their door. Emma opened it, surprised. Karen, is everything okay? Karen crossed her arms. It's 9:42 p.m., and your animal is disturbing the peace. Emma blinked. He barked at a raccoon. Noise is noise, Karen interrupted sharply. I'll be filing an official notice. Mark stepped in. That's ridiculous. He barked for 5 seconds. Karen smiled thinly. 5 seconds too long. This is a family community, Mr. Miller. Not a zoo. She turned and walked away. That night, Emma found an envelope taped to their door, a formal HOA complaint. The next day, 2 more arrived. Unsecured trash bins. Dog waste not disposed within 3 minutes. Mark laughed at first. She's got to be kidding. But her persistence wasn't funny for long. By week 2, Karen began photographing Buddy through her window. Jake saw the flash. Mom, why is she taking pictures of Buddy? Emma's chest tightened. Stay inside, honey. Buddy began sensing the tension. He'd sit at the window for hours, watching Karen's house across the street. His ears perked up every time she came out. Then came the noise meeting. The HOA assembled in Karen's yard, pristine, controlled, intimidating. A sign read, Respect the rules, respect the neighborhood. Karen stood at the head of the table. We must address the recurring disruption caused by the Miller's dog. Mark raised his hand. Are you serious? Buddy's the calmest dog here. Karen's smile was surgical. I have documentation, timestamps, photographs, audio clips. She gestured to her laptop. We all deserve peace. Whispers spread among neighbors. Some looked sympathetic. Others looked scared. Emma clenched her fists. You're targeting us because you don't like dogs. Karen's eyes hardened. I love order. Your dog represents chaos. Buddy, sitting beside Jake, let out a soft growl. Karen stared back. You might want to control that animal before something happens. The meeting ended in silence. Later that night, Mark and Emma sat at the kitchen table, papers spread out. Warnings, fines, letters. She's weaponizing the HOA, Mark said bitterly. This is harassment. Emma sighed. We can't move. This is our home. Jake stroked Buddy's fur, whispering, It's okay, boy. We'll fix this. Buddy licked his hand gently, but his eyes stayed fixed on the window, watching Karen's porch light flicker on and off. The next day, Karen's tone changed from polite threats to open hostility. She stood on her lawn as Buddy fetched a ball, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Some people just don't understand community standards, she said. Her friends laughed. Emma called out, Karen, please stop this. He's not hurting anyone. Karen shrugged. Not yet. Buddy froze mid-step, the ball in his mouth. His gaze locked on her. A low, defensive rumble vibrated in his chest. That night, Karen filed another report. By the weekend, the Millers received a final warning. One more incident, and your pet will be removed under HOA Section 9.3. Mark slammed the paper down. Section 9.3 doesn't even exist. She's making it up. Emma's voice trembled. What if she actually gets animal control involved? Let her try, Mark said, though his voice held more fear than conviction. 2 nights later, it happened. Karen stood on her porch, phone raised. Buddy had barked once at a delivery man. She hit record, narrating dramatically. Aggressive behavior again. Threat to residents. Emma stormed across the street. Delete that video, Karen. Karen smiled. Smile for the HOA minutes, Emma. Buddy trotted behind, alert. Karen's sprinkler system hissed on suddenly, startling him. He barked, once, sharply. Karen gasped theatrically. See? Dangerous. The next morning, 2 HOA officers arrived. Mark argued. Emma cried. Buddy sat silently by their feet. Just routine check, the officer said, avoiding eye contact. Complaint filed. We have to follow procedure. Karen watched from her porch, sipping tea. Buddy's tail lowered. He didn't understand the words, but he understood fear, not his own but his family's. That night, Emma whispered as she stroked Buddy's fur, no matter what happens, we'll protect you. Buddy placed his paw over her hand, eyes steady, as if to say I'll protect you too. Across the street, Karen smiled into her phone, drafting another complaint. The war had only begun. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, bold HOA letterhead, sealed in red. Emma tore it open, her hands shaking. Final notice. Due to multiple violations, you are hereby fined $1,500 and placed on HOA probation. Continued infractions will result in removal of the offending pet. Mark slammed his coffee mug down. She's lost her mind. Jake looked up from his cereal. What's probation mean? Emma forced a smile. Nothing you need to worry about, honey. But she couldn't hide the fear in her eyes. Buddy rested his head on her lap, sensing it. Mark muttered. She's building a case. Photos, fake complaints, she's planning something. That afternoon, Karen stood outside again, pretending to trim her hedges. Her phone camera pointed directly at the Miller house. Mark stormed out. Do you ever stop? Karen didn't even flinch. Just maintaining my property. You should try it sometime. He clenched his fists. You're harassing us. She smirked. I'm enforcing order. The HOA appreciates citizens who care. Buddy barked once, loud and sharp. Karen jumped back slightly, then smiled wider. See? Aggressive animal. Buddy inside. Mark shouted. Karen whispered as he turned. Tick-tock, Mark. Tick-tock. Days later, the neighborhood turned against them. Flyers appeared in mailboxes. Uncontrolled dog threatens safety. HOA taking action. Emma confronted Karen in the street. You're poisoning people against us. Karen held up her phone, recording. I'm protecting the community from reckless owners. You should thank me. Emma's voice broke. He's just a dog. Karen tilted her head. Exactly. Buddy growled softly. Karen's eyes flicked toward him with disdain. Keep that thing away from me. That weekend, something shifted. Buddy saved a life. Jake was playing catch with his friend Lily when a silver Lexus came speeding down the street. Karen's Lexus. The ball bounced into the road. Lily chased it. Lily, stop. Jake screamed, but Buddy was already moving. He sprinted across the pavement, teeth grabbing Lily's hoodie, yanking her back just as the Lexus screeched past. The car swerved, missing them by inches. Lily fell into the grass, crying but safe. Jake hugged Buddy, trembling. Karen slammed her car door, face pale. That animal ran into the street. Emma ran over. You nearly hit a child. Karen's expression hardened. That dog lunged at her. I have it on dashcam. He's dangerous. Emma stared in disbelief. You can't twist this. Karen cut her off. Oh, I can. And I will. By evening, the HOA inbox was full. Karen's statement spread fast. Dog attacks child. Family refuses to cooperate. The next day, animal control called. We received multiple complaints, the officer said stiffly. We'll need to conduct a behavioral assessment. Mark exploded. This is a setup. That dog saved a kid. I just follow reports, sir, the officer replied. Emma whispered. Please, he's harmless. Come see him yourself. Buddy wagged his tail gently, licking the officer's hand. The officer's eyes softened. He seems fine to me. Karen appeared, perfect timing, holding a USB drive. You might want to watch this footage before you decide. The officer sighed. We'll review it. Karen smiled at the Millers. Justice always wins. That night, the HOA mailbox lit up with comments and rumors. Some neighbors avoided eye contact. Others whispered apologies. But no one stood up. Emma sat on the floor beside Buddy, tears streaming. They're taking everything from us. Mark knelt beside her. We'll fight this. I'll get a lawyer. Jake hugged Buddy tight. He didn't do anything wrong. Buddy licked the boy's cheek and pressed close, as if to promise he'd protect him, even from what was coming. A few days passed quietly. Too quietly. Then came the knock.
Bang, bang, bang.
Mark opened the door. 2 animal control officers stood there, grim-faced. A police cruiser idled at the curb. Emma's voice trembled. There's been a mistake. One officer held up a clipboard. We have an official order from the HOA board and local authorities. The dog must be taken in for evaluation. Jake's voice cracked.
No.
You can't take Buddy. Karen appeared across the street, phone in hand, filming. Just doing what's right for the neighborhood. Mark shouted, This isn't justice, it's harassment. Karen smirked. Call it what you want. Order always wins. Emma knelt beside Buddy, hugging him tight. It's okay, baby. You'll come home soon. Buddy whimpered softly, confused but trusting. The officer clipped the leash to his collar. We're sorry, ma'am. He'll be safe. Buddy looked back at them, eyes wide, silent, pleading. Jake broke down. Please don't take him. Karen called out sweetly. Goodbye, Buddy. Buddy turned toward her voice, ears flat, body tense, memorizing her face. After they left, silence filled the Miller house like smoke. Emma sat on the floor beside Buddy's empty bed, his leash in her hands. He's all alone in that place. Mark paced. We'll get him back. I'll find out where they took him. Jake's voice was a whisper. She won. Mark froze.
No.
Not yet. The next morning, a letter appeared in their mailbox. No envelope, just a folded sheet. HOA thanks you for your cooperation during this transition period. Please ensure no further disturbances occur. Emma crushed the paper in her fist. Transition period? She acts like he's gone forever. Mark's jaw tightened. If she wants a war, she's got one. That evening, rain poured across Cedar Pines. Karen's lights glowed in her living room. Through the blinds, she could be seen sipping wine, laughing on a phone call. Inside the Miller home, silence. Then a faint sound. Jake stared out the window. Mom, did you hear that? Emma turned. A soft bark.
Distant.
Mark stepped closer to the door. Another bark, faint but familiar.
Buddy.
Emma's heart leaped. He's trying to find us. Mark shook his head. They wouldn't let him out. But somewhere in the distance, Buddy barked again. This time sharper, urgent. Karen's porch light flicked on. She walked outside, holding an umbrella, scanning the street. No way. In the shadows at the edge of the cul-de-sac, two glowing eyes stared back at her. Buddy was free. Karen whispered under her breath, "Oh no, 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 no." Buddy didn't move. He just stood there, drenched, silent, watching. Then he turned and disappeared into the night. Karen backed into her house, locking the door, heart pounding. For the first time, she felt afraid. And somewhere, Buddy was already planning what came next. The cage door clanged shut behind him. Buddy sat in the cold concrete kennel, a thin blanket beneath his paws. Rainwater dripped from his fur. The shelter smelled of bleach and fear. Across the aisle, dogs whimpered. But Buddy stayed silent, watching, waiting. His eyes weren't scared anymore. They were calculating. From a nearby desk, the shelter guard muttered to a coworker, "That's the one from Cedar Pines. HOA case. Golden Retriever? Looks harmless," the other said. The guard chuckled. "Ladies said he's violent. HOA president, I think." Buddy's ears twitched at that word, Karen. That name was burned into his instincts. The next morning, an animal control truck pulled up outside. Buddy's heart quickened. The driver stepped out, and there she was.
Karen.
Perfect hair, sunglasses, clipboard. She spoke to the staff. "Just checking on the situation. We need to ensure this animal doesn't return to the Millers. Dangerous precedent." Buddy froze. Her voice, sharp, smug, familiar. She walked past his kennel, heels clicking. She didn't even glance his way. But he stared at her reflection in the glass. His body stiffened. His muscles tensed. When the door swung open to another kennel, Buddy made his move. The latch on his cage had been bent slightly from his pawing the night before. One shove, it clicked open. The metal door creaked. The guard turned. "Hey, wait." Buddy bolted. Through the hallway, paws pounding against tile. Past the front desk. The staff yelled. A door slammed, but Buddy dove through the narrow gap before it shut. Rain hit his face. Cold wind. Freedom. He didn't stop running. He ran until the city lights faded behind him and the smell of cedar pines returned, fresh grass, asphalt, and the faint trace of her perfume. By nightfall, Buddy stood at the edge of his neighborhood. From across the street, Karen's mansion glowed like a beacon. Gated, spotless, guarded by motion lights. Buddy crouched behind a hedge, soaked but silent. He waited. Karen's garage opened. Her car rolled out. She was leaving, perfect timing. As the taillights vanished, Buddy sprinted toward the side fence, leaping effortlessly over it. He landed in her backyard. The air smelled of lavender, money, and deceit. He crept toward the sliding glass door. It was slightly open, just enough for a determined dog. Inside, Karen's house was immaculate. Polished marble floors, glass furniture, everything in order. But under that perfection, Buddy sensed rot. He sniffed.
Paper. Ink. Sweat.
A hidden place. Behind the study desk, a cabinet door stood slightly ajar. He nudged it with his snout. Inside, folders, envelopes, USB drives, and stacks of cash rubber-banded together. Buddy pawed through them. The scent of Karen's hand lotion coated every item. She'd touched these often. But one folder smelled different. Fear, sweat, adrenaline. He dragged it out. The top page read, HOA Financial Report, Confidential. Dozens of printed bank statements. Transfers. Withdrawals. Signatures. Karen Whitmore. Buddy tilted his head, nudging deeper. More papers, threats to residents, fake HOA letters, lists of fines that didn't exist. He pawed at one USB drive, biting down gently. It dangled from his mouth as he backed away, but his paw brushed a lamp cord. It tipped.
Crash.
The sound echoed through the empty house. Motion lights blinked on. Red security LEDs began to flash. Buddy froze, heart pounding. Then, the camera above the door rotated, locking onto him.
Beep.
Recording. Buddy darted toward the patio, dragging the folder with him. His claws clicked against the tile. Outside, the sprinklers burst to life, spraying water everywhere, soaking the papers, his fur, the evidence. He dropped the USB drive onto the wet ground and pawed it back under the light, making sure it was visible. Then he barked.
Once.
Loud, commanding. Across the street, lights turned on. Neighbors peeked out. Phones lifted. Buddy barked again, standing right in front of Karen's door with documents scattered around him. The cameras caught everything. A neighbor shouted, "Is that the Miller's dog? What's he doing there?" Another voice answered, "Looks like he broke into Karen's place." Buddy stood tall, chest heaving, water dripping from his fur. He barked again, sharp, deliberate, and nudged one folder toward the porch light. The title gleamed on the wet paper. Unauthorized HOA transactions. Evidence copy. Phones clicked. Cameras rolled. Buddy's tail flicked once. Mission accomplished. 10 minutes later, Karen's Lexus screeched into her driveway. She jumped out, umbrella snapping open. "What the hell?" her voice caught. Buddy stood on her porch, staring at her. Around him, papers, photos, and the USB drive glimmering under the light. Neighbors gathered at the end of her driveway, whispering. Karen's face drained of color. You mangy thing. What did you do?" She lunged, grabbing at the papers. Buddy dodged, barking wildly. The motion lights flared brighter. The neighbors began recording. Is that money?" someone shouted. Karen froze.
No.
These aren't. These are fake." Buddy barked louder, backing toward the street. Karen's rage took over. "You stupid mutt. I'll have you put down." She chased him, slipping on the wet concrete. Her umbrella snapped, papers flying from her hands. Buddy darted into the yard, stopping in the middle of the street. The USB drive lay between them. Karen lunged again, but her foot hit the curb wrong. She fell hard, splashing into a puddle, soaked, humiliated, her hair plastered to her face. Phones kept recording. Buddy barked once, not out of fear, but triumph. Karen screamed, "Stop filming. This is private property." But the neighbors didn't stop. Someone shouted, "Call the police." Another, "That dog's got something, look." Buddy picked up the USB drive in his mouth and dropped it right beside a man's feet, a neighbor named Robert, who'd once been fined unfairly by Karen. Robert looked down, stunned. "What is this?" Karen staggered up. "Don't touch that." Robert ignored her, picking up the drive. "Looks like HOA files." Karen's face went pale. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Buddy trotted back toward the Miller's yard, tail low but steady. He paused once, turning his head. Karen stood in her driveway, drenched, surrounded by neighbors, shouting desperately as police lights approached. Buddy's gaze was calm. Then he walked away. Minutes later, he reached the back gate of the Miller home. It was locked, but Buddy pawed it until the latch lifted. He slipped inside quietly. Inside, the house was dark. He climbed onto the porch, nudged the back door, and let out a soft whine. Upstairs, Jake stirred. "Buddy." Emma's eyes snapped open. "What?" They rushed downstairs. When Emma opened the door and saw him, soaked, muddy, eyes bright, she gasped, "Oh my God."
Buddy.
Jake threw his arms around him. "You came back." Mark blinked, confused. How did you get out?" Buddy wagged his tail once, then nudged Emma's phone with his nose, as if telling her to check something. Her screen buzzed. Notifications flooded in. Neighborhood group chat. Karen caught on video. HOA scandal exposed. Local police. Reports of HOA fraud in Cedar Pines. Emma covered her mouth. "What did you do, boy?" Buddy lay down, head on her feet, eyes heavy. Outside, sirens grew louder. Karen's empire was crumbling, and the hero who started it all was finally home. Morning broke with chaos. Sirens wailed down Cedar Pines Drive, scattering the usual calm. Neighbors gathered in robes and coffee mugs as 3 patrol cars rolled to a stop outside Karen Whitmore's mansion. The once perfect lawn was littered with wet papers and shattered glass from last night's storm. Mark Miller watched from his porch, still in disbelief. Is this really happening? Emma gripped his arm. Buddy did this. Somehow, he brought it all back here. Buddy stood between them, golden fur still damp, eyes locked on the flashing lights across the street. A detective stepped out of his cruiser. Mrs. Whitmore? Karen emerged from her doorway in a silk robe, trying to appear composed. Officer, this is all a misunderstanding. That animal broke into my home, destroyed my property. The detective cut her off. Ma'am, we received multiple reports and several neighbors submitted footage. We also reviewed the USB drive your neighbor provided. Care to explain why the HOA's operating funds were routed to your personal account? Karen's face drained of color. That's absurd. Those files are fake. Ma'am, the detective said flatly, we've already confirmed them with the bank. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Robert crossed his arms. You fined me $2,000 for a missing mailbox, Karen. Guess we know where it went. Phones recorded every second. Karen's composure cracked. Stop filming me. This is defamation. Emma stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. You called our dog dangerous. You tore our family apart. And now everyone sees who you really are. Karen pointed at Buddy. That mutt trespassed. He's a menace. The detective turned toward Buddy, who stood tall beside Emma, tail still. Funny, the officer said. Looks like the smartest witness here. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Karen's jaw tightened. You people don't understand. I built this neighborhood. Robert shot back. You built a prison for everyone but yourself. Buddy took a slow step forward, eyes fixed on her. For the first time, Karen flinched, not from fear of an animal, but from the truth closing in. The detective gestured to the officers. Ma'am, please come with us. Karen's voice rose, panicked now. You can't arrest me. I'm the HOA president. Not anymore, said the detective. He handed her a folded document. The board voted an emergency removal this morning. Karen froze. They can't do that. They already did, he replied, snapping cuffs around her wrists. Cameras flashed. Karen screamed, You'll regret this. Every one of you. Emma whispered to Buddy. It's over, boy. You did it. Buddy's gaze never left Karen until the car door slammed and the cruiser pulled away. Silence settled over Cedar Pines. Neighbors turned toward the Millers. Robert stepped forward, tipping his cap. Guess we all owe you one, Buddy. Buddy wagged his tail once. Jake ran outside, clutching his phone.
Mom, look.
The video's everywhere. He turned the screen toward them, a live feed from the local news. Golden Retriever exposes HOA fraud, community hero dog brings down president. Emma laughed through tears. Oh my God. Mark rubbed Buddy's neck. You're trending, Buddy. Hero of Cedar Pines. Reporters began arriving by noon. Microphones, cameras, vans. The street that once judged them now celebrated them. Buddy sat calmly through it all, regal, steady, letting the world come to him. A young reporter knelt beside Jake. How does it feel to know your dog exposed one of the biggest HOA scams in the county? Jake grinned. He's not just our dog. He's our family. Buddy pressed his head against Jake's chest as cameras clicked. By evening, the neighborhood was transformed. The HOA sign at the entrance had been taken down. Neighbors approached the Millers with pies, handshakes, apologies. Emma smiled politely, but kept close to Buddy. He doesn't need treats, she told them softly. Just peace. As the sun dipped, Mark set a new nameplate on their mailbox. Miller Home, protected by Buddy. Jake laughed. You really put that up? Mark winked. Earned it. Across the street, Karen's house stood dark, windows shuttered. A moving truck idled in the driveway. Her brother loaded boxes, face grim. He didn't speak to anyone. From behind the curtain, Karen watched silently. The cuffs were gone, but the damage was permanent. Reporters had torn apart her spotless reputation. Her phone rang endlessly with calls from lawyers and HOA members demanding restitution. When her eyes caught sight of Buddy resting on the Miller porch, she froze. The dog lifted his head and met her gaze. No growl, no bark, just quiet victory. Karen turned away, lowering the blinds. Later that night, the street was peaceful again. For the first time in months, no letters, no complaints, no shouting. Just crickets and the hum of porch lights. Emma sat beside Buddy on the steps. "You never gave up, did you?" she whispered. "Even when they took you." Buddy rested his head on her lap. Mark joined them with 2 mugs of coffee. "He's got more fight than all of us combined." Jake came out in his pajamas, holding Buddy's favorite ball. "Think he still wants to play?" Buddy's ears perked. He stood, tail wagging gently. Jake threw the ball down the street. Buddy chased it, golden for glinting under the lamplight. Emma smiled. "He's home." As Buddy trotted back, he paused in the middle of the road. Across the way, Karen's house loomed, empty now, its once perfect lawn scattered with fallen leaves. Buddy tilted his head, then turned and padded back to the porch. Mark murmured, "You think she'll ever come back?" Emma shook her head. Not after what she did. From far off, thunder rumbled. Rain began to fall softly, cleansing, almost symbolic. Buddy lay down on the porch, eyes half closed, breathing steady. The camera crews had long gone. The lights faded. What remained was quiet justice. Inside the house, Emma framed the news article headline and hung it near the door. "Golden Retriever exposes HOA scandal, a neighborhood redeemed." Jake looked at it every morning before school. "He's a real hero, huh?" Mark smiled. "He didn't just save us. He saved everyone here." Months later, Cedar Pines looked different. Kids played freely again. Dogs barked without fear. The new HOA board, made up of real neighbors, voted to name the park after him, Buddy Park, for courage and loyalty. At the ribbon cutting, the mayor spoke briefly, but all eyes were on Buddy. He sat calmly beside the podium, wearing a small red bandana with his name stitched in gold. When the crowd applauded, he wagged his tail once and lifted his head proudly. Emma whispered, "That's our boy." Later that evening, as the crowd dispersed, Buddy stood at the park's edge, looking at the sunset over the rooftops he'd once patrolled. The air smelled of cut grass, barbecue smoke, laughter. All the things Karen had tried to take away. Jake knelt beside him. "We're safe now, right?" Buddy leaned against him, tail thumping softly. In his eyes, peace and something deeper. A promise kept. Far away, Karen's moving truck disappeared beyond the gates of Cedar Pines, taillights fading into darkness. And in that quiet moment, the world felt balanced again. Justice wasn't loud, IT was loyal, IT was golden. Just like Buddy.